Welcome to High Strangeness, where we ask questions and explore all that is strange and unexpected in our reality.
Welcome to High Strangeness. I'm Tony, and this is the place where we talk about all things strange and unexpected in our reality. Today I have with me co-host Anthony. How are you doing?
Doing good.
All right,
Thanks
and
for
we're going to
having
be
me.
doing a random strangeness episode today with 3 to 4 random strange topics. So Anthony, how are you doing? How's things going?
Doing good. Just hanging out, living life, hustling, bustling, taking care of kids. At the time of this recording, we're expecting our third baby, so we want her to come not too soon, but that will keep us busy for a little while when that happens. So
For sure. I'm excited too. That's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be wonderful. So as we hop into our episode today, it's probably a little bit of a shorter episode, but once again, I want to remind people that are listening that oftentimes it's good to check out the YouTube episode as well to see pictures so that when we talk and point to things, it's a little bit more clear what we're talking about. Now, recently, I always wonder what's going on in the news, and just recently, there has been a bunch of Del Tacos that closed quickly in Colorado, all the Colorado locations. I shouldn't say all of them, but many of them closed in Colorado. Weird stuff, huh? That you can get these restaurants that open and close out of the blue. And I feel like we see more and more each year,
Yeah. Del Taco or Taco Bell?
So Del Taco in
Del
Colorado.
Taco.
Yeah.
Del Taco. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, having a decent amount of experience in the restaurant business, you as well, it is difficult. And I feel like a lot of these companies expand. They don't have the money to expand. They just take on investments. They try to push it. I was thinking about this the other day because in the restaurant business, you have such a thin margin. The only way to make a lot of money is to open up a lot of them. But you have so much overhead, so you have to have money to open these up to make this much money.
That's right.
And so if some of them don't go well, or the influx of the investment stops coming in, how do you keep them open, right? So anyway, so it's interesting. I often wonder that balance of how well some of these restaurants are doing versus how much money they're putting out, stuff like that, being in the industry and knowing my margins and what I have to balance. So, it's surprising, but not too surprising because it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, I agree. Well, sometimes these people that have these businesses and they go out of, they have to close them. It's like it's got to drive them nuts. Like their head's going to blow up. As I was thinking about that, I thought to myself of some funny videos that I watch every now and then on YouTube where people get scared almost out of their socks with those train or bull horns when people drive by and people jump and run over.
My neighbor has one of those.
Mad.
My neighbor has, about 2 houses down. He actually just recently moved, but he has a big truck that he installed a train horn.
Oh, I love it.
So you would hear him. Thankfully, he's respectful and doesn't do it at night, but you would hear him like 2 blocks over, just scaring people on the side of the road.
Oh, I love that.
And if you're good about it, it's pretty funny. But if you're gonna be a jerk about it, then I'm sure that's miserable too.
Yeah, there's videos out there where people drop their drinks and all kinds of stuff when somebody does it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this brings me to our first topic here today, which reminds me of, those sounds, scares you, that sort of thing. Have you ever heard of something called the exploding head syndrome?
I didn't hear about that until you had sent me an email about some of the topics we're going over, and that one sounded pretty dramatic. Right. I wasn't sure what I was going to get when I looked it up, and my first thought was, there's an Amazon show called The Boys. And it's a little dark. It's a superhero type show. I do like those shows, but it is a dark comedy, very dark, very, very bloody, which I normally don't like those types of shows, but there's something about this show that's pretty entertaining. And there's a character that can blow up people's heads. Right. And it's pretty crazy. And so when I saw that, I was like, no. And The hard part about these random strangeness episodes is you're usually bringing attention to something that I didn't know existed, and then it's unlocking a new fear for me. And so when I saw that, I was like, no, that can't be that, right? And then I look it up and I'm like, oh, really? That's it? They had to give it that kind of crazy name.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, but I had not heard of it until we were about to do this podcast episode.
Well, just so everybody knows, like you were saying, there's no physical trauma, pain, swelling, anything like that that goes on, but it can be annoying, right? It's a hallucinatory sound that sounds like a gunshot or a cymbal or something explosion, something like that, going off on your head when people are trying to sleep. So sometimes it only happens once in somebody's life, and there's some people that have it happen up to 7 times per night. But that would be pretty crazy, wouldn't you think, trying to get sleep and having that happen?
Yeah, that would be miserable. I mean, I think we've all had that experience where we've been laying down and we hear a noise, or maybe we think, I've done that before, where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I need to check my doors or whatever, make sure everyone's, safe in the house. And the sound, we have 2 dogs, or 3 dogs, and I'll wake up and they're not barking. So I'm like, was that just in my head? Like that loud bang? Was that me? And it doesn't happen often, thankfully, but it's scary when it does. I mean, you think it's real.
Yeah. So that's one. So if your kid gets up screaming that something's happened to them, they feel like something blew up, or you yourself, you feel like your wall fell down, maybe it's just this exploding head syndrome. Now, there's a doctor from a psychological clinic in Washington State University, and he says that a lot of times this condition can be brought about by insomnia, kind of a general sleep disorder, and certain types of anxiety. So, if you do experience this, maybe you are really creating it for yourself because you're nervous or worried about something. This Dr. Sharpless is his name, says, believe it or not, just educating patients about the condition and reassuring them that it's not dangerous can lead to the reduction of these episodes in some cases. He says regulating sleep is likely helpful as well. So that's good news.
Yeah, it's good. It is more common, I think, in people over 50.
Right.
Like it's an older thing. And there is a visual aspect, too, that they said that some people have reported seeing flashes of light or feeling a jolt, like an electric shock, alongside the noise. Though the hallucination is the hallmark, the audio part of it, the bang is the hallmark, right. But they are seeing occasionally some other side effects. But from everything I looked up, it's not dangerous. Like you said, it's not dangerous. It's not even really a disease. It's just a condition that, like you said, is probably caused by stress or sleep abnormalities, things like that.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that's a quick topic here of just a condition that can exist. Nothing terrible, but it's real, and maybe most people wouldn't even believe it's happened. It happens. So.
Well, and it says that it's estimated 10 to 20% of people experience this at least once. So maybe it's doesn't. Maybe some people are suffering it ongoingly, but everyone else, it's something that can happen, and so. They said it is more common with women than men, but 10 to 20% is a decent amount of people.
Crazy. Well, listen, we're going to keep moving on for everybody out there. I accidentally scheduled a couple of episodes very close, so I have another interview coming up, so we're going to buzz through some of this information. I want to ask you real quick, though, Anthony, what is the weirdest or most bizarre sport you've ever seen? Is there one out there that kind of stands out for you?
A bizarre sport. I mean, the slapping one is cool, but that one's pretty weird. Like, why would you put yourself through a slap match?
Yeah, and it's getting bigger, too.
Yeah, it's getting bigger. Well, Dana White, the owner of the UFC, I think he owns that now or something like this. So, I mean, and I'm not saying it's cool. I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm just thinking I would be I'm not going and getting slapped across the face. Fighting's one thing because you can protect and, there's some more strategy to it. But you're just lining yourself up and just getting slapped. That's a pretty crazy sport to me.
Yeah. Well, before this next topic, I thought one of the strangest ones was in the Olympics. I happened to run across last time in the Summer Olympics this sport where they were doing speed walking. And it was just the strangest thing. I'm like, the way they were shaking their hips, the way they were walking, I thought to myself, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That was pretty strange. That was before I ran into this one, which is called the ear pull. Okay. It's a traditional Inuit game, which Inuit, I think, is a Native American group. It's a sport that tests the competitor's ability to endure pain and also strength. So look at this picture right here. These two guys have this band. It's kind of like a rubber band, but it's more leathery, hooked up to their ears, and they're both pulling backwards.
Yeah, this is like, I mean, I can't blame them. They didn't have a lot to do back then.
Right.
When I look at this, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
There's some gnarly pictures online of this.
So these individuals face each other. Their legs are stretched, interlocked. There's a 2-foot long string similar to a thick waxed dental floss. It's looped behind each of their ears. And then you go. You try to see who can do it. And in this picture right here, this young lady looks very intimidating and determined to win this competition.
This is on the same level to me as getting slapped in the face. Like, why would you do this? There's no sports or strategy. This is, maybe there's strategy in this. I don't know. And getting slapped in the face, maybe there is. But for me, like, if I was an athlete, I'd be like, I'll pick a different sport.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel like this lady right here is going to lose her ear.
Yeah. It's bad. There's one picture I was looking at that the guy's ear was like straight up purple.
Right.
And I'm like, I mean, I'm sure they're not doing it for a long enough time to do severe damage, but still, I mean, you're still doing some damage.
Yeah, exactly. So they're doing this until one of the two individuals either quits of pain or it just pulls through their ear and goes on. But I mean, there's cuts and the need for stitches and all sorts of things with this game.
How do you train for this? It's just strictly pain. Like pain, I guess, what's the word? You're just training for pain. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Like, you're just like,
endure it.
Yeah, just to raise the level of amount of pain you can deal with in a sensitive part of your body.
Yeah. Here's a kid, a young kid getting into the sport. And it's funny because the game's been omitted from some of the Arctic sports due to the safety concerns. Lots of squeamish spectators just have had enough. They don't want to see this anymore. The bleeding and the competitors sometimes requiring stitches. It is crazy. So they don't mind, horse, or should I say dog sled racing and these other things. But this one is too much.
Well, and, I think back to, this is not meant to be political, but, when the assassination attempt happened and he was bleeding a lot throughout his ear, like he just says, like, how much blood there is in an ear. Like, I had no idea. Like, none of us knew, like how big, he said how much blood happened. That's what I think of when I see this too, is like, if you get a cut and that's true, how much blood in ear, I mean, I'm sure it looks way worse than it really is.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're going to watch a short video in just a second, but I want to just say the ear pull is an example of, like I said, the Inuit games that prepare children for the rigors of the Arctic environment by stressing physical strength and endurance, as well as helping one keep a mental record of one's endurance levels. That's what they say.
No thanks. I pick hockey.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Basketball or something else.
Well, let's take a quick second and for a few seconds here, watch a short video of this competition actually happening.
No, One more time.
Okay, crazy sport, but it exists. Okay, so our next section is strange overgrowths. What does that mean? So, sometimes, there was a show out there not too long ago, I think in the History Channel, it said after people disappeared, and it showed like how quickly nature would recapture just all the civilization that we have, basically our cities, our streets. And we've seen that. You can see what happens to your driveway and different things if you don't take care of things. But this is an example right here of a ship called the MS World Discoverer that's now nothing more than a cool scuba diving spot for thrill seekers. This is crazy. Look at this.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with how quickly nature reclaims things. If you think about it, it's interesting when you think about pollution or items that don't deteriorate over time, but everything we make is from the earth, right? All the ingredients are from the earth. And so it's just interesting to me that the earth takes it back, right? You look at a shipwreck like the Titanic, where the ocean, it's taking a couple hundred years or whatever, but that structure is now collapsing because it's being eaten, right? And then you see stuff like this and things are growing over it. There was another cruise ship a few years back, I don't know if you remember, it was a big one that flipped on its side. Do you remember this?
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know if we've talked about this on an episode before, but it ended up being it was a big thing. There's a whole story behind it, but it hit some coral reef. It had lost its engines, and so it flipped on its side, much like this one. But it was only on its side. It was probably about a year or so before it was the most expensive ship recovery, I think, in the history of ship recovery. But when they flipped it back up, to see the deterioration on the side of the ship in just a year was really fascinating. That's what I think of when I see this is just how quickly something magnificent and mighty can be reclaimed.
Right. And look at the shrubbery and everything growing. It's still in the water. It's just crazy. It just comes up through it and grows and everything like that. So I just thought this was a really cool picture for us to show that nature reclaims it. Now it's a rusty clunk of metal slowly being eaten away by the salt of the ocean. Something else.
Which, we've talked about this in other episodes, my fascination for abandoned buildings and stuff. Like if I was a scuba diver or, this would be, this is like the mecca of that kind of stuff. I would love to explore these types of things. I think it's really cool.
So let's take a look at our next one. This is an abandoned theme park that's been engulfed by nature. Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Look at that. Let's see here. Why was it abandoned? How long has it been like this? Who owns the land? Why haven't they built anything else on it? These are all questions that people would have if they look at this. Mother Nature does not take long to recapture, like you were saying. Everything. And, we're not talking about this today, but we have covered this subject on this show before, this podcast, which is that there's some thought that maybe there was a previous civilization before us that exists. And scientists would say, well, where's the evidence? Well, as you look at something like this, if that society lived 100,000 years before us and killed themselves off somehow, there probably would be no evidence, because look at how quickly things are recaptured just within one person's lifetime with this.
Well, and it's fascinating because like we use, we say that we have better building materials and all this stuff, but this stuff is getting consumed. And then you go to these civilizations that built with stone, Obviously, maybe they're not as efficient, but those buildings are still around.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
So anyway, it's interesting that the more efficient everything gets, the more maintenance it takes, the less the less it lasts, or the less amount of time it lasts. Right? It's that joke of like if you're turning in your old car for a new car, it's the joke of like, okay, there's just more stuff that can go wrong on the new car. Yeah, it has all
That's
these cool
right.
bells and whistles and computers, but you're gonna have problems with it. And so that's kind of what comes to my mind when I see this type of stuff. Where's this park located?
Mm, I can't remember, and I thought I wrote that down, but I didn't capture it.
I also think of at Disney World, there's an island that, yeah, do you know what I'm talking
That's
about?
right. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called, but it was built as like part of the theme park. There's going to be like a petting zoo and all this stuff, and it ended up getting abandoned. Didn't work out, or I don't know really what happened. Now it's a place that people try to sneak into, but it's now experiencing the same thing, overgrowth, and it's the only reason a lot of people can't get to it is because it's on an island in the
That's right.
middle of a bay or something, and so you'd have to obviously go through waters that could have alligators, stuff like that.
That's
So not a
right.
lot of people
Yeah.
do it, and it's patrolled, but it's even a company like Disney will still just leave stuff like that sometimes, and I think they have a water park too that they closed down and they just left it. Now it's overgrown. So anyway,
Yeah.
this doesn't look like Disney, but I'm curious to know where this is at.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting if Disney does anything with those spots that you were just talking about. So, okay, how about this one here? This is interesting. This is a car that crashes into a tree. They leave it there, and look how quickly the tree just, or the, I don't know if this is one tree or a couple trees, but it just has taken in that car. It's now part of the tree.
Yeah, that's
There's no
interesting.
way to separate that.
And I wonder how long, maybe the 70s, that vehicle looks like it. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
pretty interesting. It's interesting how big trees can get, how quick they can get that large, and then they'll be that way for hundreds of years or whatever. I think that's interesting too. So,
Right.
but yeah, that's quite fascinating.
So there you go, people. Overgrown items, things that just reabsorb man's equipment and just pulls it right into nature. I just don't think there's a better example than the ones we've showed today
Mm-hmm.
of things being recaptured by nature. All right, we're moving quick. The next one, strange jobs. I remember some friends and I had a joke before that we talked about, hey, we should start a business where we call it pump you up, where we bring somebody into a new job who talks you up, makes you sound like the most amazing person, gets everybody excited for you, so that when you get there and start, everybody thinks you're the most amazing thing. And it was a joke, and we had fun with it. But, we were laughing because it was such a weird idea. But some of these jobs out there are really, really strange. So what's this first one? It's called a professional mourner. Have you ever heard of a job, a professional mourner, a paid mourner?
It gets even more professional than that. It's called a morologist, morologist, something like that. It has like a more
Yeah,
intense name. I've never heard of it, but it doesn't surprise me because you see, the political spectrum right now is so divisive, and so you don't know what's true and what's not. But you always hear about like actors, like there'll be people online, call them conspiracy theorists if you want, whatever, but they'll show different clips or different catastrophes or different things, and then they'll highlight people that are the same in all the videos, and they'll say, look, these are actors. And you watch that and you're like, I don't know, is it? And some of them are very convincing.
yeah,
So that was my thought when I saw this, is I was like, it's weird, but it doesn't surprise me. Like, I'm sure,
right.
like, let's hire someone to be really sad, an actor to be really sad during a certain, ceremony or whatever.
Kind of set the mode for it,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah,
very strange to me, but and maybe it's strange that I'm not surprised. I think that's really the strangest part. Is it's slightly not surprising, which is a little bit
surprising.
tells a little bit more about how weird our world is.
All right, yeah. So it's an occupation that originated from Egypt, the Chinese, the Mediterranean, and Near Eastern cultures. And these people get paid to do this. It's crazy. It's something else.
The job involves attending funerals to grieve, often loudly or dramatically, for
That's right.
someone the mourner didn't know, either to boost attendance, show status, or help the family process their loss.
Yeah, most of these are women. For just they give a few reasons if you look into it, but in some cases it gives the women an opportunity to perform professionally in something. In some of these third world cultures and stuff, they say men are deemed unfit for this because they were supposed to be strong leaders of the family, so they shouldn't show themselves as being mourners.
It says modern professional mourners can earn $30. I thought this said 30 to 120 per hour. I was gonna be like, honey, I know what I'm doing. 30 to 120 per funeral in places like the UK or US. So this isn't a third world thing. I've attended funerals in West Africa, and there are some people I could have seen fitting this role that were just so
Really?
dramatic that I was like, okay. But this is UK and the US.
Yeah.
It says in China, some report making up to $500 per gig and over $28,000 annually working part-time doing this. That's crazy.
Wow. That's strange, but par for the course. Crazy. It says here, mourners were also seen as a sign of wealth. The more wailers and mourners that followed a casket around, the more respected the deceased person was in that society.
And there are health risks to be a professional mourner. So if you're listening and you're really interested in this, like, hang on. Not every job has its risks. You may strain your vocal cords from wailing, or your eyes may be strained from forced tears. And some Chinese mourners have even reported hoarseness or vision issues after years on the job. So I don't know. You might want to retire young if you pick this profession.
That's right.
I would probably put it in the same category as like NFL player. You probably can't last too long.
Yep.
It said that this is kind of dying down in some areas, but it's growing in the UK, and there's even a company called Rent a Mourner.
I saw that.
Anyway, crazy.
Something else, I'll tell you. Well, there you go. I mean, this is more of what we find in our reality, how strange and crazy things are.
You can make money doing anything. This is also a lesson. Like, if you think you don't have a talent,
right,
there's something. Something you can bring home some side cash.
That's right. I mean, I always think of the pet rock as an example of something that people will buy. They'll do anything. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Well, as we tail to the end of this this episode here, was there any of these that stood out to you as fun or interesting? They just all were really weird to me, and a little lighthearted, like nothing too serious, right?
Yeah, there was one. There was one we didn't talk about. We have to talk about it maybe in another weird High Strangeness episode. But there was a car curling. I don't know if you remember. That one was on our list to send, which is curling. Where you push something down the ice, but with cars. So first of all, I'm a little disappointed we didn't touch on that, but that's okay. We'll do that one on a different episode. But that was a really goofy one. So that was the top first with these topics. But second to that, like I said in previous episodes, I love the abandoned structures and stuff like that. And so the overgrowth to me is the ship was really cool. Seeing some of our mightiest inventions just being slowly taken back to Mother Nature, I think it is crazy. It's interesting. It's inspiring. It's even a little religious, in my opinion. It's like this planet, this ecosystem was built to house everything that we need to do while we're on Earth as humans or animals or whatever. And it's just so cohesively put together it's cool. So
Yeah,
anyway,
and I would add to that humbling, right?
mm-hmm.
For as great as we think we are, the most amazing things on this planet, God created us, we're special. We are also just a piece in this puzzle of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
And, it doesn't take long for us to kind of dissolve away from the memory of time. So we should all, as a human group, really look at this and say to ourselves, let's really enjoy the time that we're here. Let's, basically look at each other and help each other and do all these things to kind of appreciate what we are and who we are for this short period of time. Because in 1,000 years from now, if things go weird in history, will we even look like we've been here? Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, Anthony, thanks again for another cool episode. We did a short one, and we'll be back into this in the near future. For the rest of you out there, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you recognize all the strange out there that's in your reality. So, like I always say, remember, there's a lot of strange and unexpected in our reality. So always keep your eyes, ears, and minds open. And until next time, stay safe. See you, Anthony.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to High Strangeness. This was a glance at some of the strange that exists in our reality.